Hey guys, Kevin Cage back with another cryptocurrency update. Welcome to the channel. Like and subscribe if you're serious about investing in the digital asset space. And let's get right into it today. One take and uncut. I will be brief and I want to cover recent news in terms of DLT, and then we'll go over specifically some XRP developments in terms of web monetization, going towards the cloud, acquiring new customers, new consortiums, etc. So what is relevant here? We all know the initiatives and the the digital dollar project. We understand that there's huge groups working on this again. We have, Giancarlo, a veteran Silicon Valley engineer, entrepreneur, and corporate executive. We have, again, the CFTC's former chief innovation officer. We have many, many people with this digital dollar foundation. Now, what's relevant and why I'm tying it back to Ripple and XRP and all of these digital, essentially digital DLT companies. Again, of course, Ripple's a payments company that uses blockchain technology and infrastructure. I understand it. But again, Accenture is one of the original investors in Ripple. They've been helping all of these groups throughout the years, whether it's Swift integrate with R3's Corda, whether it's, even helping R3 with their own DLT initiatives, helping Ripple. It really is. You start to understand the unity within all of this ecosystem, and you start seeing it become ever so more connected and integrated. So again, philosophically speaking, not to get too out there and loopy, but essentially, when you are understanding things, all you're doing is really seeing the relationship between all various things and networks and ecosystems. You see that there is a unity, and the better you see the unity, the better your understanding grows. So this is the same thing. So I recommend you guys to question everything continuously, do your own research. Don't take everything I say 100% unless you can back it up yourself as well. Okay. So understand that Accenture is a lead architect and, again, a technology innovation advisor on a pro bono basis for this group. Okay, so they're keeping a close eye on this project. So we know many nations have already built roadmaps, are implementing digital tokens, and the US dollar is going to be no different. We know that many nations are actually already implementing CBDCs. We know that China's doing that soft rollout with the digital currency electronic payment protocol. We get it. Okay, so everyone, it seems, are going digital, whether it's digital or fiat based, it doesn't matter. It still needs to interoperate with a digital asset, preferably that is highly liquid, scalable, further distributed as time goes on. We have all of the biggest groups and names in this industry, and you start to kind of realize how big this potentially could be. And even on the conservative side, I still see a likelihood for massive success. I mean, we are sitting at 20 cents per XRP right now, 18 cents per XRP, 10 cents per XRP, even $1 XRP does not faze me one bit. I have very high expectations for this ecosystem. All right. So again, just wanted to basically just kind of emphasize Accenture, okay? And they are in many, many other groups as well. And we can, talk about the technology providers and go on endlessly as well, okay? Again, Accenture has its own blockchain, but they are a facilitator of XRP and Interledger protocol. And again, with these groups, with Hyperledger as well, they all have a vested interest to create this ecosystem, again, for true interoperability, scalability, and just to help and bring the internet of value. Next up, so these are the terms of service from January 2020 that people haven't really seen until now. I have not seen it until Arturo Portilla shared it on Twitter, but standardcustody.com, this will arguably be the standard for custody, as the name can say, and as it's already been trademarked and patented. You can understand PolySign and Tandem with this group are going to play a huge role. You guys can find this at standardcustody.com/terms. I'm going to read a few of the key points that he bullet pointed here for us. So it will allow for creation of user accounts. Standard Custody will have a mobile application, and I saw that. It seems you have to be in the United States at this time. The service is going to offer 3 kinds of accounts: a user account, customer account, and a verifier account. Customers and verifiers can designate responsible individuals. Customers' responsible individuals will then be authorized to initiate requests on behalf of them. Verifiers' responsible individuals will be authorized to review and validate customer transaction details. Now, this is where it gets pretty interesting. Standard custody services will be available to customers in non-US jurisdictions. Each transaction made with standard custody will be recorded on the PolySign secure blockchain. Okay, but it's also broadcasted to the blockchain associated with each digital asset. So it's all connected, okay? There's going to be many, many permission databases, many types of private blockchains, walled gardens for, obviously privacy, potentially higher scalability, storage, you name it, but they still have to interoperate with the open permissionless ecosystems. The permissionless crypto assets are not going away when they solve a real problem, okay? Because when you understand the value of privacy, but also trust and on an open landscape, landscape. You kind of have to get the best of both worlds, and both are going to survive and thrive. Okay. Next, customers are responsible for individuals to be provided access to a transaction history. And then standard custody, and we talked about this too. Standard custody will be Bank Secrecy Act. Okay, so compliance along with AML laundering, anti-money laundering, and foreign assets control compliance. Okay. And so you have the source there as well. All right, next up. So this is on XRParcade.com. Encourage you guys to support Leonidas. I mean, honestly, this is unbelievable information that he provides for everyone. So if you have not been to XRParcade.com, I would go there right now and just learn about it. You truly will walk away with a bunch of information, links, sources, only facts here. Okay. So essentially this group here based out of Brazil, I'm just going to say Rendimento. This group again joined RippleNet back in January 2019. And essentially we know that RippleNet's going to the cloud. We get it. It's all one integration. We can now allow customers to go live on RippleNet using the software and on-demand liquidity and all of that pretty quickly. Specifically can go live on RippleNet 5 weeks faster than on-prem customers with hardware. None of those issues, none of the maintenance costs, etc. This is speeding up payments for end-to-end consumers. You can see it's also making it easier and more simple for FIs to add alternative settlement through on-demand liquidity, which is the biggest priority for Ripple. But again, they set the stepping stones and they're focused on long-term as always. They're building a skyscraper. You get the foundation and you go one level at a time. This is not just to make, you and me rich. They're truly trying to build an ecosystem that will survive and have that flywheel effect and survive on its own. So cloud customers can also maintain and make new connections more easily through one API for all of their RippleNet connections. Remember, we've seen Visa Direct. We've seen a lot of groups, of course, utilizing the cloud. We know Microsoft runs a validator on the XRP ledger. Same with SEC as well. We know Amazon Web Services is involved in a lot of different things that are working with Ripple as well. Should be no surprise. Just keep an eye on this. All right, next up. So Arturo Portilla sharing this, guys. So if you guys are familiar with coil.com and all the web monetization, pushes, you guys would know or are familiar with the name, this group, Grant for the Web. So again, this group, all about supporting a healthy ecosystem. They have some of the founding collaborators, Coil again, all about Spring and the XRP Ledger initiative to build, various use cases well outside of just what Ripple is doing. We have Mozilla, we have a lot of groups working on this, okay? So again, better business models for the web, open standards. They want to support people using open protocols, benefiting content creators, supporting, again, it's all going to be about choice and open landscape, built-in monetization, whether it's for bloggers, guys playing video games and streamers, you name it, artwork. You can create these types of models. Now, remember, Craig DeWitt of Ripple also was working on X songs to basically have, actual musicians and artists getting paid 100%. No more, only scraping by with royalties and kind of giving up a percentage of their income and hard work. It's true disintermediation. It's getting rid of the middlemen. So this is going to be very significant. Again, Grant for the Web is a $100 million fund to boost open, fair, and inclusive standards and innovation in web monetization. All right, so you can find more at grantfortheweb.org. So as we can see here, guys, just talking about what they're working on, and essentially this is pretty cool. So we have Default, a Grant for the Web awardee, that's a weird word, Default to add support for the web monetization standard in HTML5 games created using the default game engine. So essentially, guys, they're really pushing for, different competitions to drive innovation here. They're talking about kind of getting rid of, for video gamers, no more banner ads, no more disruptive advertisements. They're trying to figure out a way to create a new ecosystem. Again, web monetization specifically is an exciting new and non-intrusive way for game developers to monetize their creations while at the same time offering premium content to their paying players. The grant we have received will allow us to explore the new way of monetizing web games, and we're excited to see it adopted by these actual developers at Default here. So again, this grant is actually going to allow them to, as we can see here, integrate web monetization into the Default game engine and Default editor, host a game jam to encourage developers to try building a game with web monetization, and again, streaming of payments, even, micro payments, for example, as David Schwartz has basically talked about numerous times, could potentially be bigger than even cross-border payments in that market alone. And I know that kind of sounds shocking. It was really shocking when I first heard it, but it's just the truth. Okay, streaming of payments could potentially be the absolute future. Just as I say, and I bring it up every few weeks, Imagine just as a pay as you go basis. So some of you have Spotify, some of you have Netflix. Instead of paying $15 a month for Netflix, imagine you only pay while you're watching your TV show. So when you're watching it, if you're only watching an hour a month, it's streaming that payment, not that much. It's a per use basis. But if, everyone in your family is watching Netflix 24/7, it's, hours and hours a week, you're streaming for what you use, period. Same thing with car insurance. If you drive more than others, you should probably pay more on car insurance. Things of that nature. A pay-as-you-go basis, streaming the payments, and then instead of people in Europe or in the US getting paid bi-weekly or even monthly, you're getting paid at the end of every day, or perhaps maybe years in the future, maybe we're talking decades here, getting paid while you're working your shift. All right, and these are just a few examples, guys. Obviously, you see the ecosystem. You see hundreds of millions of dollars being pushed into this ecosystem. There's many, many more groups than just Ripple. I'm just saying that XRP will be a fundamental part of this ecosystem. If you really think that, hundreds of millions of dollars are invested in various avenues and incentivizing these groups, even buttering up MoneyGram essentially, and now kind of forcing them to use XRP the right way and kind of go more peer-to-peer instead of just for their own gain, you can see where this is going. You can see the end game. You see the utility and use cases for specific assets. And I am bullish on a good amount of assets that solve real problems for real customers. All right, next up, another example. And again, just do your own research. There's a bunch of this information available online. But Michael Val5 Links sharing content monetization firm Coil. Again, we were just talking about them, and keep in mind that they're backing, I'm just repeating this for newcomers, with this grant for the web type of movement, the $100 million fund. We've already said Coil, and you guys can go to coil.com as well and learn more. But we can see that Coil now has invested $1 million in publishing a publishing platform called Hacker Noon. This deal will allow Hacker Noon writers to start using and actually earning streaming micropayments and using these types of integrations from Coil users who read their stories. So again, as you can see, you'll have the option to do this, but as we know, so Hacker Noon has raised $1 million from San Francisco startup Coil, allowing their writers to start earning cryptocurrency rewards for their work. So briefly, content monetization from Coil's invested. This deal is going to allow them. Why am I repeating myself? So as we can see here, there were a few points. So again, former Ripple CTO, Stephen Thomas, the guy who's actually recoded the Bitcoin code from scratch. And he already knows the faults of double spending and issues like that and scalability and fees and transaction congestion. We understand it. And obviously he's the man behind Ripple. And now he's even stepping forward to build other ecosystems as they're kind of focusing on doing what they do with remittance and cross-border payments. He's trying to build other applications to raise that ground floor. So again, the 3-year deal. So in the future, guys, we already locked in, helps Hacker Noon writers earn money for their content depending on how much time Coil users spend reading their stuff. If you have a Coil subscription, obviously they're always working to build this ecosystem and improve it, but just understand we are in early days. So this is another example of another group incentivized, and now other content creators can get a taste of this. All right. Next up, so Michael Val5 Links, what I was referencing earlier. So we were talking about Craig DeWitt. So Ripple's director of product is pulling back the curtain on an XRP payments project called PayBurner. He's building as a side project designed to make it extremely simple to send and receive e-commerce payments. And he did realize this from actually kind of working on his product X Songs to pay, musicians and artists directly for their songs. And they're kind of just paying it forward and doing this as a, philanthropic. It's always a weird word for me. Philanthropic purpose, again, because they understand the upside in the future is so big. So we can see this new type of platform. Now, this is not what I'm saying is going to drive volume. I'm just showing other utility and other types of use cases that can be built on the XRP ledger, and eventually more and more groups, even well outside of the Ripple ecosystem, will be doing the same, whether it is on Ethereum, whether it's on Tezos and other types of platforms for maybe tokenizing securities, you name it. Okay, so as I said, PayBurner got started because we had this idea for X Songs when we realized there wasn't actually a great ecosystem for individuals to do peer-to-peer or P2P payments using XRP. It was interesting to see it was in the initial version of X Songs, or in the initial version, excuse me. The vast majority of payments were actually coming from digital asset exchanges, and it turns out that they saw them, there wasn't really any infrastructure, guys. There wasn't a great wallet available to make it really easy for customers to leverage XRP. So when you lower these barriers of entry, it's going to make it a lot easier for adoption. Today, it's still kind of tricky. I mean, unless you just tell your friends to download Coinbase or Binance US in an exchange and buy some XRP. Sometimes in the back in the day, there were not direct pairs. It can still be annoying. You still have to do KYC, AML verification, submit your ID. It can be a timely process. So until those barriers to entry are slowly lowered and we're working on those walls, we are not going to see mass adoption. Okay, now I'm focused on wholesale utility. We understand how a one single plugin via API can be quickly. And as we know, institutions are selfish. They will make sure that they're in the game. I guarantee that price will move significantly before the retailers have a chance. I just don't really believe in that slow and steady narrative. And that's not me trying to hype it up and make it exciting. I'm just trying to look at the past when during the dot-com bubble, it was manipulated for 2-3 years and institutional whales kept the price low, were buying up trillions of dollars in assets. And then eventually a couple years later, boom, the market popped and there was, a couple trillion just introduced to the market right away. And very few retail people had a chance to get in the game. Thankfully today with mediums like YouTube, you can hear crazy people like me ranting and talking about these things. And I think that there's a community in the XRP community. I think there's, thousands of us that see what's coming. Now, there's some people that are fully convinced they get it. They've done the research. There's some that are still kind of vetting. They diversify, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think as long as you hold a little XRP, you are, in a great position. But essentially, none of this is financial advice. I have to be careful with what I say here. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Do your own research, question everything. I'm just saying, history might not repeat exactly, but it often does rhyme. And I know I say that a lot, or I used to say that a lot last year when making videos. Now check this out though, this isn't just some small group, guys. DeWitt says that the pay burner will launch as a Chrome extension and will automatically be available as a WordPress plugin, and making it available to approximately 455, I think it's 1,000 or million. They're missing a zero. Let's just say it could be 455 million, or it could be 45,500,000, whatever, however you want to cut it. All right. So when you look at the distribution of websites today, you have a vast majority of websites that run on WordPress. I personally don't like WordPress. Don't tell WordPress that. I guess I won't get sponsored by them. But one thing that we're really excited about is by building a plugin to WordPress, you could make it very easy for people who want to receive XRP and payment for goods to have that plugin. Exactly. So this is way beyond just content creation. This is, people with e-commerce sites or Shopify sites. We've seen the integrations with Shopify as well with Ripple partners today. I just don't think people really understand how quick this can happen for wholesale usage. There's already been tests. There's already been 55 million ledgers successfully closed. I understand liquidity needs to develop, and remember the quote, liquidity begets liquidity. I think everyone is looking at Ripple and on-demand liquidity, and they're looking at this hand, but they're missing what's really happening on the back end. And that can just be part of my tinfoil hat theory, but we will see exactly how the end of this year plays out, because I do expect very big things. All right. So you get the gist. So we got Payburner, we got Xsongs, we have, other groups like Defold. We have all the initiatives with the folks over at Forte for game developers. Gaming alone, if I have any video gamers and young kids or guys watching in here, you know how big the gaming industry is. And I think a lot of old timers really underestimate it. We have children today now, their role models are professional gamers and streamers rather than actual athletes. And you have to pay attention to those trends. It's because kids are living virtually on their phones and iPads more than in real life. All right. And there's people that are going to capitalize off that. And it's simply supply and demand. Business doesn't care. It's based off of mathematics. And that is why I think XRP is poised to make the biggest difference, because it doesn't care if you think it's centralized or not as good as this asset. It's basic math. If it has the criteria that Swift and all of these groups have made, ubiquitous technology, secure, scalable, efficient, you can see all of this, interoperable. I mean, Ripple's joined the ISO standards, is the only DLT group, for the first DLT group, Focus. It's all right in front of you guys. I just think common sense isn't so common, and eventually there's too many coincidences, and every time I make a video like this, you guys go, yeah, but XRP's at 20 cents. And they're missing the entire point of what I referenced with the dot-com bubble and what I referenced with absolute suppression. There's no need to move the price until they are fully live and using it at a mass scale. If moving the price right now to $1.50, all that's going to do is get the attention of everyone all these retail investors, you and me, you would tell your family and friends, and then they would buy. It would just create an act of FOMO. So, what is the best strategy? Well, one theory that I have is keep the price as low as possible for as long as possible. And I hope that makes sense to you. But if you guys aren't convinced by that, that's fine. Nobody, is asking you to buy XRP. No one is asking you to hold it. You can sell it. Do what's best for you. But I personally expect the US dollar to tank. Watch the fear of BRICS and these developments occur. I personally would recommend, me only, of course, going into precious metals and some crypto assets that have direct funding. Now, if you guys have noticed, forget TA, look at the algorithms and the fractals playing out for the cryptocurrency. You are seeing some micro cap projects absolutely exploding. The bull run is already here, but you're all focused on Bitcoin when it dumps and pumps $1,000. Bitcoin will move. And guess what? XRP, it's my bet, will be last to move. You saw VeChain get a little eruption. You saw Cardano go up, but it did go back down. There's going to be big retraces. You saw Zilliqa really start moving, guys. I mean, it did, 150% return pretty quickly within a matter of maybe 2 weeks. And I mean, I got to ride some of that. You have to pay attention to these moves. This channel is not about trading. This channel is about fundamentals and news and thoughts and rants about XRP, because I think the best thing to do for someone that doesn't have experience in trading is just dollar cost averaging, buying a little when they can, and holding for the future, because I think the upside is tremendous. Do not just, sacrifice your short-term bag or long-term bag for short-term gains. I would not risk that. So if you are someone that is working extremely busy, just buy a little, set and forget. You don't have to keep up with the research, but if you want to keep up with developments and, listen to my rants, that's awesome. But at the end of the day, this ecosystem is going to go up with or without my opinion. My opinion means nothing. I'm just trying to spread it for those that listen, those that value some of it, those that disagree with the other part. I totally get it, and I respect that, because that's how I am when I listen to other people's opinions as well. All right. Now, lastly, just to kind of hit things home. So we have Matthew Liny, South Korea's NH Bank creates digital asset consortium. We're going to see a bunch of these groups. Fun fact that I actually had no idea. And again, Matthew Liny has been a long time researcher in the community, always providing excellent points and information as well. But again, says that Hexlent runs a Ripple node. So we know that there's been, a bunch of nodes and validators available and kind of growing this ecosystem, becoming more and more distributed in due time. And I hate the phrase, but it is true. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay, so just to kind of go through here, we're going to see more and more of these groups doing these types of things. Seems like they're supporting many, many groups and exchanges and companies. So it's not just a special thing for Ripple, but thought it'd be worth a mention. Supporting nodes we can see: Bitcoin, Ethereum, EOS, Ripple, and then Qtum. All right. So Hexlent, you guys can read more about that, and then their website talking about essentially they're planning to explore new business models, digital asset custody, asset security, all of this for these fintech groups. And South Korean laws are coming in March 2021 for AML procedures for digital assets. Look at this, guys. There's so much money in this ecosystem that needs to be tokenized. Hundreds of billions of dollars is coming. If you still don't think that crypto assets are going to play a role and it's a fad, it just shows how uninformed you truly are. Now, I get if you believe, oh, this asset won't do as well as this, or, this one will die entirely. I'm speaking holistically, the entire crypto space, these permissionless blockchains and DLT networks and tangles and hash graphs. It doesn't even have to be like a blockchain like Bitcoin, just DLT specifically has tremendous upside. It is a nascent market, and this is where the money is made. When you buy the blood, when you buy in a 2 to 3 year bear market, everyone thinks that they just lost their money to some great crazy scam. Those are the people that continuously do their own research and invest based off of the fundamentals and understand that price is nothing but a fake artificial number for now. That is not going to last forever. We're going to look back and laugh at today or days like these. All right. And again, just like Ripple recently said in some other groups, it's going to get worse before it gets better. All right. With that, guys, I appreciate it. Be sure to like this video, and I will see you in the next one.